Hello, everyone, and welcome you to TownHall Breakaway episode number 3. I'm Solid Jake, joined here with Zoya, Kalo, and Icon, our first ever 4-person show, and we're talking about the new patch. As servers are up early this week, we've got some changes. We've got another hero design rework in the patch notes. We're going to be talking about hit sign removal, which hit last week, and going over how everyone feels about that, the changes hitting the game, and then states of the game. That should say state of the game, but typos are real, and that's all good and fine. Zoya, man, how you been, buddy?
I've been good. Yesterday we got to celebrate a new milestone on Town Hall Heroes. It's our sister podcast, episode 150, which is just crazy.
Wow.
Congrats,
so
boys.
Thanks,
That's
man.
awesome.
It's been a long road, like 3 or something years to get there. Hopefully this podcast will reach similar milestones. We'll have to see.
It's crazy to think that we've been podcasting for 3 years, though, man. It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's almost long enough to put that on your business card.
Yeah.
At one point, I think it was on my business card.
Probably was.
How about you, Kayla? How you been, man? How was your alpha weekend last weekend?
Oh, it was so awesome. Just hearing like the positive feedback from like a consensus of the community, all the new changes, and getting real patch notes plus numbers. Oh, it was real good. It's real good.
And Icon, welcome to the show. Since this is your first time on our show, you have a similar background to us. Why don't you elaborate?
Hello, I'm Icon, or Kyle. I've been around esports for a while. I've known these guys for a while. I come from a variety of different backgrounds, different games and stuff. I was in Counter-Strike for a while, then I went over to Heroes for a little bit, and I did a bunch of managing for Heroes. And then I went over to Overwatch, created Cal League for Overwatch, did a bunch of TO stuff, competitive stuff, resource place over there. And then a guy I know said, "Hey, look at Breakaway." I was like, I can get down with that. So here I am. That's the TLDR, basically.
And you're also part of one of the first sponsored team, yes?
Yes, sir. I am a Breakaway player for Enix, at Enix GG. I don't know what their formalized full name is, so we just call them Enix because we are Enix.
Hashtag production.
They are Enix, whatever.
We got black screen of death for a second there, boys. But yeah, Enix Breakaway, they do have this official account, and Trader, also a familiar name to me coming from the Heroes of the Storm side of things.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me when a team gets picked up this early. And like, did you know the org beforehand? Like, is there a story behind it, or did it they just saw Breakaway and they're like, yeah, we want to be involved?
They picked up a talent acquisition guy. Basically a scout dude, and I did some graphic work for him. I do graphic work on the side. I did some graphic work for him a couple months ago. We reconnected, and he was like, "Well, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm playing Breakaway." He was like, "Oh man!" So we got really deep into it and whatnot. And then a couple months ago, and then about a month and a half ago, he reconnected with me and said, "Hey, we want to pick you guys up. We got an offer." We were already talking to a couple of the other orgs and whatnot, and we had some other plans in the works, but they had a very, very generous offer. It really worked well with what we're planning on doing for the rest of the year and towards 2018, and we thought it would be a good push for general teams and other orgs to kind of jump up and get into the scene as well. So we thought it would be not only beneficial to us and the org, but the competitive scene as well. Seeing people kind of jump in this early, it could be a bad thing, it could be a good thing, but hopefully people push it as, oh, people are taking this game very seriously, so maybe we should start looking at it.
You say it could be a bad thing, and I actually, I've heard a lot of people say that before too, and naturally I just look at it as purely optimistic. It's only good.
Oh yeah, me too.
It drives competition, it gives people opportunities. Could be a bad thing is only in the event that, like, if they overcommitted and then the game didn't go anywhere. But naturally, we all feel this game is going places. So
I feel like all the bad things in those situations are stuff that are out of your hands. Sorry, I can't English right now. So I don't know. I think it's really good. I'm glad that there's a couple of the teams that are getting picked up. I know Hickory recently is putting a squad together for an org. I know a couple other teams are talking to other orgs as well. So hopefully all that stuff gets wrapped up soon, and we'll be able to see a fresh and healthy competitive scene.
Yeah, my former teammate of mine, Matre, just signed with an org.
His name is APM now.
No, his name's Matre and will always be Matre.
I didn't
it's
even know.
MTV.
I didn't even know that was Matre. To be honest with you,
That's Matre.
Yeah,
I've
Matre
seen
is
APM around all
such
the
a
time.
cool
Like,
name, right?
it really
Matre
is.
worked, and then he went APM. Like, I'm never gonna stop giving him shit for that. I can't find the tweet, but Matre and I forget who's on the roster. APM, they just signed with an org. They just got announced. Well, I don't know if it's technically a signing, but
Oh, is he playing with Turmoil?
I think
Turmoil, yeah.
Yeah, that's with Teely,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cario.
yeah.
Guys.
Yep.
Those guys. So APM's playing with them now. So we're starting to see, again, it's not any the super massive players like Cloud9 and stuff moving in yet, but there's clearly becoming interest, and there's obvious interest on the player side to start wanting to form these squads, start practicing, scrimming and stuff. So it's cool. It's all exciting stuff.
Yeah, game's fun. So
Game's fun.
why not at that point?
Game is fun.
Yeah.
All right, well, the intro's out of the way. We can talk about the patch notes, which were, actually released just, maybe an hour ago, if that?
Yep.
Yeah, pull those bad boys up. We've got some stats to talk about a little bit later as well. Going to kind of wrap that into this discussion, but bam. Okay, so actually before we get to the patch notes, let's kind of talk about the new hero design that we have here, because last week we ended up getting the Black Knight reworked into Merrick, who is super, super badass, and then this week they actually turned Victor into Sai, same exact character when it comes to his kit. Nothing's changed, just the looks, the aesthetic, and his voice, I think. I haven't played with his voice on, to be honest. Is it changed?
I'm not sure about the voice either.
I don't think the
I can't
voice
confirm or
changed.
deny.
Okay.
I think
I
it's
don't
the
Either way,
same
he looks
thing.
awesome.
They recently did a voice change with him for the tech test, I think, right? They changed all of his
Yeah.
voice lines.
Yep.
So maybe it was just prep for that, and this is going to be what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lore nut in like any game I play. It doesn't matter how stupid it is. Like League of Legends, like there's no single player more story and stuff, but like I still cared about the backstories of each of the characters and stuff. And I'm glad they're going in a direction where they'll eventually be able to like flesh out backstories for these characters. We'll see cool little cinematics involving them and stuff. So whatever gives them an enhanced identity for themselves is a good thing to me, at least.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got flavor. It feels super original, and I feel like actually I've been reading a lot of articles, a lot of them dating back almost a full year ago, and the biggest criticism the early articles were giving them is that their characters were not original enough. And when I first played, I saw Black Knight. I'm like, okay, he's a Crusader, but he's a big guy. It looks kind of like Reinhardt, and honest. I mean, honestly, is Reinhardt the most unique design? No, he absolutely is not. It's just the fact that Overwatch is a prominent game in the space right now. And, Victor was just another guy that, kind of threw lightning. It's a very cliche thing, the whole like Tesla coil lightning thing. Whereas he's got this empowered stone on his back and like the stone gauntlet. It seems like a really, unique character that really feels genuine in its own. And, all of these characters are starting to feel like that. Which is great. So props to the team for creating a really awesome design.
That stone on his back is actually a fallen immortal head.
Oh,
Yep.
It's actually one of the gods who fell during the Great War or whatever they called it. Chop that bad boy off, stick it on its back. Let's go. I can shoot lightning now.
That's pretty gnarly. That's pretty gnarly.
I'm actually really intrigued by just hearing that there is lore like that, because that's not something I've dove in on yet. That's really cool.
Yeah,
all right, so we can actually get to the patch notes here, and I'll update our overlay. And when it comes to the patch this week, we'll zoom in on this. It's not a huge balance change overall, more quality of life stuff. But the fact that vertical jitter is gone and purged, I think everybody's got to be super happy about that.
Yeah, I think one of the things most people in the community echoed was just mouse control across the board has not felt too smooth, and we're seeing strides in that every week. So definitely a good change. The most important thing is the game feels good to play, right? Because it doesn't matter how fun the interactions are, it doesn't matter how hype it gets when you're about to score. But if it's just too much of a stress to play, then look at old DayZ. DayZ, while on concept was a fun game, like its interface and everything, like the feel about it was just garbage, and it ended up being.
I used to use vertical jitter in the beginning of games to feel how bad the server was. So if you spam like spacebar and your shift key a lot, you can like jump up and down real quick. Yeah. And if the server was really bad, you would just keep jumping in the air for a little bit. So if I did that, I was like, looks like it's gonna be a rough game, boys. Looks like I'm building health.
Jeez.
But I'm glad that's out of here.
Yeah, a lot of just nice alpha things. They say the Merrick transformation is complete. I'm curious if that means that when you select him, it no longer says Black Knight, because actually, let's try it. Let's do it live.
They added his skins in too.
Oh, yeah.
His other variants.
And the weapons as well. Look really good.
All right, let's bring this down a little bit. Merrick. Yeah, they actually got the voice line. Let's check out those skins. Oh, that's cool.
I think they already had the weapon skins in last week. I thought it was just this person's skins, right?
I think there's like 2 new ones. Just
they had the old skins, the old BK skins still.
Skins.
The old axes.
I got it.
Yeah.
They didn't have the new updated Zerg skins.
Dude, he's so giant, like plant. I like it. I'm gonna rock that one. Green. That's cool. Nice, nice. Well, good progress here in the alpha in terms of that kind of stuff. And there's one more character rework, which is going to be Rollins. If that happens to be next week, then holy crap, they're moving.
They're
quick
on a roll.
Yeah, that's
man. I hope they turn him into like a short Simony Sam guy. I feel like that'd be so funny.
Yeah,
just a short dude with a cowboy hat and a huge mustache, man.
I think they're behind the scenes starting to update Rollins. His sounds are different this week a little bit. You're gonna have to figure those out for yourself. But yeah, I think it's slowly happening.
The cool thing about what the both the Kyra and the Psy rework is that with Black Knight, I don't feel like it was too drastic of a change, right? Like he's still that big hulking figure, right? But now he's like kind of like undead zombie looking, right? But with Psy and then Kyra, it was almost a complete transformation of the character, to where like Psy does not look like Victor at all, right? You know, the only thing that comparable now is their kits. So I'm excited to see where they're going to take Rollins, because it won't be just like a slight, you know, he's got a different hat or something, right? It could be something completely different.
He has a different. I feel like they're trying to steer away from like high tech stuff, like technological things, and they're trying to go to like a more way back when medieval type of stuff with a bunch of different things. So I don't know. We'll see. I was kind of surprised that the Victor change, the side chains, had a lot of similarities with Alona. Sorry.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will tie in with more lore and stuff too. I know me and Kayla were talking about it the other day about how it would be cool if, you know, how League has a bunch of different big cities or big countries and stuff that people are from. They have the same like aesthetics and stuff. It'd be cool if they were going that kind of route as well. Like, oh, these guys are from a big, you know, Aztec or Mayan city that's huge, and they have the similar visual styles and stuff. So that would be pretty cool. We'll have to see though. Nothing's in stone.
Except for
size arm, yeah.
Got him.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually hadn't drawn the conclusion yet. And for those that didn't know, Kyra used to be basically just a pirate, like your classic pirate.
And Bonnie.
Bonnie was her name. And she was actually on a lot of the original artwork that I saw as well, just, you know, digging deep from older VODs and stuff. But now she's a water sniper with a squid head. Does her squid have a name? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
The squid is Kyra.
Yeah, that's what.
It's just like a mental control type thing, right? Like
it's a parasite meme going around.
That's what Chronic started. One of my teammates started. He was like, watch. It's still Ambani, but Kyra's actually just the squid on her head, and it's just a parasite that she's controlling.
I don't mind that actually.
That'd be pretty cool.
Canon.
I don't mind that.
I kind of love that.
For it.
That's pretty cool.
Because she's a pirate, she's out at sea, and now she got squidded.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The math is
Squidded.
there.
The math is there.
Squidded.
Squidded is a proper word.
yeah.
Cool. All right, let's actually get to the patch notes a little bit further, though. New features, a sparkly start button. It's a little more obvious now. I actually didn't notice this the one game I played. But I do like the changes they made here to the client, where when you hit play, it now says practice in arena, rather than bot stomp, I think it was.
And casual.
And casual. This sounds, it's just better wording overall. If I don't want to practice, that's with Humes. Oh no, I can't cancel. There we go. But the play button is sparklier. Okay, I see. There's all these flashy things blowing off the play. That's cool. Nice little just UI updates every week.
Sparkly things make Jake happy.
They do,
Amazon devs. So the more you sparklify, the more he'll swoon.
Swoon.
Oh man.
Bot power levels, allied bots will now be smarter, more aggressive than before. So bot games will be a little bit more valuable, I guess. They're just trying to get the introductory process for new players to be a little bit more welcoming and I guess. Was there a tutorial before?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, because I had to play it this time, but I didn't remember if I had to play it last week or not.
You can skip it if you've already played it, just to escape and quit.
Yeah, I did do that, but okay. So that's not new. Let's talk about this one balance change. Kyra.
Oh yeah, hold up. You're missing
You
some
need
big
to
stuff
chill.
here.
You're missing some big stuff.
Oh.
First of all, have any of you seen the new death animations yet?
No.
I have
haven't.
not.
It's
I
sick.
haven't noticed them.
This is a big
They're
nerf,
sick?
actually.
Yeah, it's sick. It's basically the same thing. Just a skull pops up where you died at. It's like a shiny, weird looking skull
okay.
thing.
I
Cool.
saw that.
Just to kind of imprint or better.
What about the new
Visualize.
visuals on the Relic whenever it's not being held by a player?
The relic
Were you able
looks
to notice that?
really
It's
small
really good.
now, but it's like
sick.
in a good way. In a good way, it looks very clean. Yeah.
Okay.
Before it was the effects that they had on the ball were just way too big, so we think that contributed to thinking that you were closer to the relic than you were, because it was like double the size of the relic, and now
Yeah.
it's just kind of like an outline glow instead
That's
of
cool.
this big.
It's like a golden trail type thing,
Yeah.
sort of. Now it's nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
And now one of the more important changes that Jake was wanting to fly by. If you're attacked while placing a buildable, the buildable is no longer consumed. And it happened to me in a game today. I didn't read this patch note before playing it, and Alona kept throwing down her spike. I'm like, what happened? She keeps replacing it instantly. But
They added a satchel where you can save your buildable and just pull them out.
Oh my god.
is the heroic of that one item
No,
still
I was
the same?
about to say it's still the same right now. But Bao, one of the lead balance designers, did say that they're looking at that and a few other buildable changes. So
Okay.
hopefully next week, maybe even tomorrow, we'll see some of that.
Wow.
Do you think that's a good change to make default, like just baseline?
I
Yeah.
actually don't. So it makes the game like more casual and less frustrating for the players. Like, oh, I was putting this down, I just got one shot. What the heck, right? And so that makes sense. But I feel like there could have been better ways to do it, like making the cast time for putting your buildable down shorter, so the window for breaking it is much smaller. So the skill is still there for breaking it. Now you can't really play around it, and I think. I don't want to confirm or whatever, but I think there's going to be some like spammy buildable play going on where you're just moving the ball up and just keep putting walls down to body block. I don't know. I don't know if I'm
We'd
a
have to
fan of
see.
this one.
Yeah. I mean, I could not deny the Alona from putting down her proxy. Like, it was in our base, basically, healing well. Like, no matter how many times I shot it 3 times as she was placing it, eventually she just got it down right. So,
They should they should
Go ahead.
put a like a cooldown on it or something at least.
That's a
Like
good
if you
idea.
try to place it and it gets broken or whatever, you have like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever,
Yeah.
before you can do it again. I do like to change direction. I feel like that's okay because a lot of the times, in particular matchups and stuff, you'd almost have to sneak around the map to put down buildables. It was almost like an extra task where when I would play certain characters, I would just not even worry about buildables because it's like I don't want to stay back for 10 or 20 seconds until they forget about me to be able to put down a buildable.
yeah.
Right.
Especially on
true.
someone like Argus, where most of the time people are going to be aware of you throwing down your buildable.
Yeah.
And especially when they're already on the defensive and they see Argus coming from an angle that's going to clear some of your buildings, it can be kind of hard to get that down. So I agree with Icon that it's a change in the right direction.
This needs to be tweaked.
Yeah, because without there being any kind of real punishment for the offensive buildables, and you can just kind of recklessly spam them like you guys are stating, that's going to create some pretty bad feeling situations where they can just siege you up and smother you a lot more efficiently than they should be able to. And even if you can interrupt that one buildable of 4, let's say, from being cast, and you put it on a 20-second cooldown or something, that could be the difference between a win and a loss. And I think that's pretty meaningful. So I like that suggestion a lot. But yeah, I think this is a cool change, because losing your buildable when you're trying to cast it from the random energy bolt that flies in and hits you that you weren't expecting feels terrible. Like,
yeah,
that feels terrible.
Yep.
But all right, so the buildable buff, that's going to be quite nice. The don't jump around. Can someone actually explain this? Because I wasn't aware there was a damage difference while doing an aerial jump on Argus and Jarra versus ground jump.
It's actually everybody. You would do 5 more damage when you were jump attacking for whatever reason. Yeah, we thought that it was Jarra's passive before, because when she jump attacks, she attacks with both claws. So I thought that was a cool little passive, right?
Yeah.
But it's happening on everybody. I hope they actually give it to Jarra as a passive, because there's some combo potential with like you ult and then jump attack. I think that's kind of cool. But for everybody, it was just, I don't know, it seems a little random.
I think they put it. Didn't they say in the patch notes that it was unintentional?
They did.
Yes.
They did say that.
Yeah.
Cool. Ideas for the pot, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, if the animation's different like Jarra, that is kind of a cool thing that just gives her... It's almost like an additional ability she has in her kit. But yeah, if everyone's doing it, that's kind of weird. Relic heal reduction, I think this is a big sigh of relief for everyone. Everyone has been saying that that relic rune of just having the relic heal was way too powerful.
Oh, it was.
It was nuts. Like even on a character like Victor with the smallest health pool in the game, I was comfortable running the ball if I had that relic. And I would often find myself getting low, falling back, telling a teammate to pass to me, and I would camp with the ball until I was topped off, 5 seconds later, right? So it's like it 100% needed to be nerfed. I played with it one of the games. I only got to play 2 games. I played with it one of the games. It didn't feel near as good. I don't know if it'll be viable on tanks anymore, just because their health pool is so much bigger.
So much.
And I think pass range is really, really, really good. So I don't know if we'll see that as often now, but I still think it's
still
semi-viable.
I would like to see, instead of tweaking it again, tweaks to the other relic runes.
Yeah.
Like some of them are just for sure never picked in any game. Like the damage reduction when you have the relic. I don't know. It's just some weird stuff. I'd like to see a lot of reworks for that system. So.
Huh.
Yeah. We could talk about this for like an hour, man.
I know.
This is a deep one. This is a deep one, boys.
Like the instant thought of the damage reduction change is like, what if they gave you like a divine shield so you can tank 2 shots when you pick up the relic instead of just damage reduction? Because damage reduction from 1 attack isn't that meaningful. So
You're nuts.
Hey,
You're fucking nuts,
You
man.
can put it on a cooldown, right?
A divine shield for 2 seconds is going to make ball running OP. You're going to score instantly.
Not 2 seconds. It blocks 1 additional shot. So you have to take 2 shots.
Yeah. If it's blocking 2 autos, that just give you such a big window of opportunity to score with that.
Okay. Me and Icon were talking about this, and we had the idea of maybe bumping up the number a little bit, and then making it like even after you drop the relic for like a few seconds. So like 25% damage reduction for 3 seconds,
so like
or something
Argus
like that.
Theoretically could use it to engage hard and like have
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
That could be a bit rough. Yeah, I think most of them just need like little tweaks or little flares to them. Like after you drop the ball, you get damage reduction. The other one, where is it? Attack. You do more attack. You can do like the same thing with that too. Like if you hit someone with the relic, the next 3 seconds after they drop the relic, they take 10, 25, whatever % more damage. Like it would be interesting to see. But I think they really have to mess with and test with a lot of that stuff. Or maybe even just completely take them out and try something else.
I think the relics are like the most alpha system in the game right now. There's a lot.
The youngest thing in the game, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
very
2 weeks or something.
Yeah, it has a lot it has a lot that you can do with it. It has a lot it can change. I think like the item shop is like infinitely more fleshed out than the relic system right now, which isn't a bad thing, right? It's very new, and that's what alphas are for. But there's a lot of potential and creativity they can do with the relics. And I'm glad they added overall.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
we were talking recently. I know Kayla was here too. I'm just going to go into this because I think it'd be a good topic to talk about. So the item shop right now is in a good spot, we think, as far as me and a lot of the other people in the competitive scene. Not everyone, of course. I can't speak for the masses, but we feel like the item shop's in a good spot. We feel like there's a lot of diversity. We feel like they can tweak stuff here and there to make things relevant, like the lifesteal. Yeah, exactly. So we think that's okay. We just think the next layer, they put in these relic attributes or whatever for that next layer of customization for your hero and stuff. We think that taking that idea and kind of expanding it to more of like a mastery system, like League has, like say you get 10 points and you have a bunch of little stats that you could boost up depending on how you want to run your hero. This mainly because we would like to see teams have specific builds for specific win conditions. We feel like that if you have 3 win conditions in the game, you should be able to play around all 3 win conditions and not have 1 or 2 of them be kind of like, well, what happens when time runs out? Oh, well, we'll just do territory. We'll just, we'll throw something in to make the game end, basically. So we feel like going more towards a more customization or customizable team comps and stuff would be very, very beneficial. Nothing over the top, nothing anything like that. Like very, very little cherry on top stats. Like, hey, you do +3 damage now, or you get 1% life steal. Like little things like that, where you could, if you're playing a comp that wants to do territory win, you would have more options and more tools in your tool belt to kind of make that more efficient. Because right now it's basically just button heads to see what happens. So that's what we feel like would be very interesting for them to mess around with. We don't know. We don't know anything that you guys don't know. But we thought that would be very, very interesting. And we could expand on the relic thing. Because that could just be in the masteries too. You could pick a relic attribute, and then you get 10 points to put in something else. So we thought that would be a pretty basic thing that they could do.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of going that direction. But the thing I hate about League's Mastery is it was just a gate for new players. And as long as whatever they do is accessible by everyone almost instantly, that's most important to me. There's nothing more frustrating to me going into a game where like I'm just limited. Like my character's not going to be as good as yours because I haven't purchased X amount of things, right?
Yeah.
I haven't spent as much time playing. So as long as whatever I mean, I'm all for customization. I freaking love it. That's what's so great about the item shop right now is you can build however you want to build. You see different Thorgrim builds. You see like everyone plays the game however they want to, and I would love for there to be more depth to the relics as well. But as long as everyone can do it, then I'm happy with it.
I agree. That's why we were thinking more of a masteries instead of a rune page, so that way you would have, when you first start up the game, you'd have X amount of points, and no matter what you did, as you could be playing for hours and hours and hours, and you'd still have those amount of points and the same stats you could put them in. So it'd be baseline for everybody. There would be no gateway or anything like that for it. We thought after about, I don't know, we've been talking about it for 2 weeks now, we've been debating this, so we thought that it would be very interesting to bring onto the table.
What kind of stats are we talking about? Like every stat in the game, mastery, like from movement speed to attack damage to just literally
really
everything.
Basic stuff.
Yeah, nothing nothing big, like no big numbers or anything. Just the cherry on top. Like if you want to be a ball runner, hey, 1 or 2% movement speed with the ball, without the ball. Here's you take less damage while holding the ball. Little things like that would be able to not define your character, because you'd still be able to change your build in game and whatnot, but it would help you with whatever role that you were doing. Like if I wanted to play an Argus as a bruiser, as like an off tank, I'd be able to take some more defense stats beforehand and then kind of customize my build in game depending on what I wanted to do with that bruiser like mindset in mind still.
Yeah, I want
to piggyback off of this. And last week when I was on the show, I brought up the whole stacking buffs thing with the permanent but weaker and all that.
Right,
and
gems.
Along with this, the masteries kind of serves to open up the gates for the control playstyle. And like Icon is saying, there needs to be tools for players, or teams rather at least, to want to go for the territory wins, to want to play the defensive game if they want to. One disclaimer is I don't want that to be the main the meta for for the game, so balancing is always going to be a thing for it, because we don't want, this game to turn into a stall fest, right? But just having that option for people to be like, all right, we want to play for the late game. Let them do that, The game is all about freedom and good movement and fluidity, and I think this this would be the last steps for the game to get there as a whole.
Yeah. I think it needs, if they were to go that way, it would need to be something simple. Like, I'm talking like 3 points maybe, like just something that's like, again, the numbers will have to be small across the board, because then your balancing just gets out of control. You're having enough characters based off the room page stuff. So I agree with the sentiment, keep it small, but you want to keep the knowledge gate reasonable for the masses, because you don't want to come in and it's like, oh, I got to do this mastery page and it's got 31 points to spend. What do I do? Right? You want it to be like, you pick like 3 to 5, like you choose like a tanking build, a support build, a utility build. So as long as it's simple and not ridiculous.
The item shop is awesome. Like, the item shop is very simple, and as long as they piggyback off of that, basically, and just be like, hey, are you playing a damage dealer? Here's some pre-made damage things that you can just click if you're a new player. Have a simple tutorial that you can read up and say, hey, whatever. Like, it can be very, very simple, but it would bring a lot of customization for the competitive scene, as well as be easy to function for a lot of the casuals and stuff. That should be what they'd be aiming for. But I mean, if they can make an item system that easy and that simple, I believe they can do a simple mastery thing too, because it's basically just out of game items at that point.
I think all 3 episodes we've doted on how good the item shop feels.
Yeah.
And it feels good to have a game to play a game with customization again, being able to cater your own play style. So anything that encourages that, because that's some of the coolest moments in any esport, is whenever someone comes out with we reference heroes a lot because that's where Jake and I have been spending the last 3 years. But when K1 Pro first hit the hot scene, Jaina was an awful hero that no one played, and he single-handedly brought that hero to the forefront of the competitive scene because of how interesting he played it. Because Heroes has those talent builds that allows you to diversify your hero and stuff. So whatever.
Yeah. But this
whatever lets
like
you
having
this is better than the talent system with HOTS for sure. But I'm saying customization allows players to bring a non-meta pick into the forefront with just creativity. So, I agree with both these guys.
I think the master idea is interesting, and I know I've seen some screen caps and stuff of earlier systems that existed when you could modify specific abilities, and I'm a little wary of that idea, just because if you're a new player and suddenly the interaction of one ability is a little bit different when you're playing against someone else, and you don't have that intel before you actually get hit by it, that feels kind of like hard to approach. So I think like a mastery system like you're suggesting, that's like just a little bit of stats that like helps you define your style, is a lot more approachable for like a new player kind of deal. And of course that just benefits the whole game, because if people are like, oh, well, why did that snipe, knock me back, but last time it pulled me forward or whatever. I don't know why a sniper would ever pull you forward, but just an example.
I mean, screw it. She's a squid, so she can do whatever she wants.
She can do whatever she wants. She has the arms, right? Just suddenly give Kyra the ability to grapple someone with a tentacle and pull them in.
We have the technology. Yeah, I agree. I think it's good. I don't like the augmented thing at all. Like when I first tried like Battleborn or we were talking about Gigantic last night, I feel like it's like the Dota effect. They make it too complicated for no reason kind of thing.
Yeah, Dota is another beast, man.
There's a tough middle ground in all these games. You have to make it to where it's enticing enough for the pros, or they're going to get bored, which happens in a lot of games.
This game has the movement, which is important.
But you also have to make it easy for noobs like Jake to get into. So you have to find that nice middle ground, man.
That's me.
That fits everyone. It's not easy to do.
Dude, I'm a washed up old man. Give me a GameCube controller and I can play video games, but PC, I'm just terrible nowadays. It's
not that bad.
Yeah, I can play Alona. She's bae. We got that.
Alona's bae.
So Kyra is the next thing on the list here. Back to that, as I was just eager to actually get your guys' perspective on this, because when I read this balance change to Kyra, I'm like, oh my god, she just got bodied. Primary attack damage goes from 13 to 3. But I mentioned this as we were setting up the show tonight, and you said, the way the numbers work in the game, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I want to start off with this. So the one thing I want to say, and this isn't just to Jake or to anyone in general, but when a nerf or a buff comes into the game, we need to stop freaking out about it. People were like, I hate the devs. This is so stupid about the stun lock stuff. And then they tried it and they were like, oh, this is, wow, good job,
this is
devs.
fine.
Like,
I'm okay with this.
like, come on, let's try the stuff first before, like give it a few days even. I will say one thing though, the numbers in the game are really weird. I don't know why they have like a base damage and then an attack strength and et cetera, et cetera. And I hope that gets kind of cleaned up over time. But the bottom line with this nerf is it's just basically an early game nerf. She scales incredibly. Kyra is still Kyra. She's going to wreck face and you're going to get mad at her. And that's how it's going to be. So, yeah.
I'm actually surprised they didn't touch Jarra at all, because that's the most frustrating thing right now, in my opinion, is Jarra.
I had a really big rant about that.
Oh, man.
We'll make time for that in a little bit. Let's keep talking about Kyra. She needed a nerf. Her single target damage late game was absurd. Like, even building defense on Victor, sometimes like late game, depending on how she built, 1/3 of my HP, one auto. Just like, oh, okay, I'm almost dead already. She hurts. Yeah, and I played one game as her today. That's not the end of the world. She's still very viable. She's got one of the longest ranges in the game, so she's always gonna be good at fumbling if you can aim. And she feels fine to me, man.
Do we know if this nerf affected the buildables at all, or the buffs or anything like that? Because
you mean her damage to buffs?
Yeah, her damage.
I believe it does.
Okay.
One thing we were talking about last week, we were testing it actually last week, is fun fact: Rollins actually does more damage to buffs. Like if he auto Qs, he does more damage than Kyra's auto Q will do. Even when it's later in the game, his Q will do more damage to a buff than Kyra's ultimate will do as well. So
yeah, that's the dual pistols blast, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Rollins is an insane PvEer. I've always felt like he was the best. He can destroy crystals, buildings. But yeah, going back to what Kalo just said earlier about how I hope they streamline these stats a little bit better, because when it comes to figuring out, that's like a great question Icon had. Does this affect her buildable damage? I don't know. I honestly don't. It's so hard to gauge like what these nerfs directly affect.
Yeah. I would suspect to, but yeah, you never know, because that's one of her, especially early game. That's one of her primary like uses, is just kill all the buildables, get the buffs. Let the Jarra, the Argus, or whatever deal with people. You just kind of float around and shoot standalone things. So, but I'm glad to see that they're still working on balance as well as pushing fixes and stuff too. So that's very, very important. So I'm glad to see that. Rollins is pretty good too. I'll have to mess around with his PvE stuff, but I wish he still feels really bad to me. I wish they would increase his range by a bit, like 20-30% at least. Just let me, if it feels weird if I'm shooting somebody and it like stops short by like, a couple feet, it's like, man, I feel like this should be
Rollins,
it always.
I feel like
Rollins is the only hero that doesn't feel good to play right now, in my opinion.
Maybe they increase the range on his primary attack, but they don't increase the range on some, like his.
Yeah, I mean that'd be completely fine.
It's
I
hard
feel
to
like
brawl.
most Rollin players are auto based anyway.
Yeah.
And their other stuff is kind of just, flair.
Utility, like his heroic's really good for just getting the interrupt if you need it desperately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about Rollins is his projectile speed also feels pretty bad.
Surprisingly
I think,
bad.
Yeah, Kyra's attacks and Rollins take the same amount of time to get to their target, but his are like maybe a third of the distance. So I don't know. It's really weird. Yeah, and they're bullets, not a water gun.
Yeah,
not a water gun. I feel like all projectiles are just way too slow. To be completely honest with you, they're just way too slow. Like when I have to aim 3 or 4 people in front of someone to hit an auto, it's like, what?
It's hard.
Real? Like,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
Why?
I get the logic is they want it to be hard to fumble, as a ranged, and then there's like that added value of being able to fumble easily as a melee, but it's still it's hard to get used to. I mean, I'm still pretty damn bad at it, not gonna lie.
I think
That's why I
everyone
play
is, to
alone
be
in
honest
hand.
with you. Even people that have been playing since November, December are still like,
My dollar
Yeah,
bills?
practicing aim is hard, especially with the server fluctuations.
Yeah.
When servers are worse, I'm aiming like a little more ahead of people, and then it's like, oh, this is a really good one. I gotta just like aim right here. It's odd. I do agree with most projectiles, at least primary attacks, being projectiles and not hit scan, because I think
I
a
don't
hit
want 'em
scan
hit
character in this game
No
would
hit
be
scan.
no,
insane,
Zero.
right? It would
No
be
hit
crazy.
scan ever. Pass,
Unless-
hard pass,
unless it
hard
was
pass.
something that would be very small, like did like one.
The
damage
only
or something.
abilities that I
know?
want in the game that are not like Alona's heal. If it's not a skill shot, it should work like Alona's heal, where it just kind of attaches to the person nearest to you. If there's anything that auto targets onto my enemy for me, that takes away from the beauty of this game. Is that this game is like all skill shots, all there's no auto locking, there's no cheese heroes. I don't want anything that like I can easily log on to my target with.
I
I
agree.
love skill shots.
It feels weird sometimes though, especially like playing as range, and then you're like right up against the other guy, and you still have to aim past them and stuff to hit them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's latency or whatever.
I think
that
it's
could
a
be a lot
latency
of issues, but it's just like range just feels so bad to play sometimes. It's just like, man, I should just put the barrel in his head and not have to, aim 20 feet in front of him.
Yeah. Anytime there's like I'm hugging, like it sucks because as a ranged player, I would love to try and go in and body block just to get like slow them down, get my as Victor, get my shield down in front of them, and if they're ever stacked on top of me and they have the relic, they're insanely hard to hit. I think that's just maybe latency things. I don't know, but I agree.
That's when you just start screaming, then cue the ground and just start jumping away. Basically,
That's Victor is Bay. Or Psy is Bay.
Psy. His name is Psy. I like the name Psy better than Victor too. Not gonna lie.
Victor was based off of Victor Frankenstein.
Well,
Just
there you
for-
go.
Really?
Fun facts, yep.
Today I learned Victor Frankenstein is Frankenstein's full name.
Yep.
Jake.
Hey man, I'm not a freaking horror
It's
nerd.
Dr. Frankenstein, man.
Not Victor. You're right, Doctor.
All right.
if he was an actual doctor, his name would be Dr. Frankenstein at that point.
Dr. Frankenstein.
God bless.
All right, let's talk about Jarra. I actually wish I could have brought up that post.
Oh,
that I made,
boy.
but so recently, last weekend, I got my hand on some beta keys. I was able to get all my high school friends that have been gaming with forever.
Let's give a key out.
Let's give a key out too. Cool. We're gonna give away a key in the chat. Jarra. I was teaching all my friends this new game, like 5 or 6 of them, and the only thing that they were really frustrated about was Jarra. And I said in my post that I do not think Jarra is overpowered, and again, I want to make sure that's clear here. Jarra is not overpowered. She is not broken. I don't feel like, again, I wouldn't be surprised if she had a low win rate. But her one-shot combo with her ultimate, and then you do the jump auto in the air, is absurdly unfun to play against. Any ability that can anything that can just take you immediately out of a fight is
Especially
not
100
fun.
to 0.
Dude,
especially
she's
100 to 0.
so
There's no options. You have 0 options at that point.
I know we have a decent amount of Heroes viewers that are going to tune into the show just because of the nature of Zoe and my background, and she is like the Nova of Breakaway, but like tuned up to 11. Like she can just straight. I played a couple games against Kalo actually earlier, and DM Brandon played Jarra one game. Right out of the gates, he walked up to me, just one-shots me. I was playing Psy. Just full combo, I'm dead. I'm just like, okay, I guess I have to build into armor. But they got the gold buff like 2 rounds probably 3 rounds in a row. Probably all 4 rounds, honestly. And it didn't matter how much armor I got, out of the gates. They had so much more gold income in the early part of the game. It was, I just got one-shot the whole game. It felt terrible.
My biggest issue overall, like my mentality going in with this game is having options. Like when you're in a situation where you have zero options, that should be the bad, like that should be a bad thing. Like if a Jarra ults you right off the gate first round and 100 zeros you have zero options, like that's bad. The same thing with the Thorgrim throw. I don't know if you guys were playing, but back in December, Thorgrim, when he would throw you, it would arc behind him. And if he had the ball on the ledge and he was just standing there, you had literally zero options to get that ball. Because if you got close, you were just dead.
Man.
Yeah.
Cheese.
So I'm glad that they fixed it where you have to, it just goes straight up now. You have to combo with it, which I think is fine. Like if you have to combo with stuff or you have to do anything like that, that's completely fine. You have options at that point. But this is just one of those situations where they need to fix it, basically.
It's not even just no options like when playing the game, like as you get 100-0, you don't have an option to live there, right? You just die. You also don't have an option in how you build. If you do not build straight into armor and straight into health, you will 100% be farmed by that Jarra the entire game. And the thing is, it's not even that great because Jarra, outside of her combo, is ass. She has her combo, and then she goes in PvEs or hides in a corner or does whatever she is because she's one of the swishiest characters in the game with little mobility, and then she waits for her combo to come back up, and she comes in. So she's out of the fight for, like, what is her cooldown on her ult? Like 20 seconds? 22 seconds? Something like that?
Yeah.
So she's out of the fight that entire time. So while it's annoying, usually that person's going to be respawned by then and back in the fight and probably pushed up a little bit more because you can't contest the Black Knight as Jarra. The moment you go in the Black Knight's rage, he's going to eat you alive. Like that's just it. Like there's nothing fun about it.
Even when you build, I played a game earlier and I went straight into health, straight in the armor, and Jarra was still just 100-0 me. It's like, man, it's just not. It doesn't feel good. It's not feel good.
We've talked about changes or possible changes to her before, and I think focusing on her E, the amp, the damage amp boost, and changing it to like a utility thing could be pretty good. I like that it gives movement speed. I think that's a really cool thing. I don't know if it needs to be on E. It could be like her invisibility as well. But the point being here is maybe the next attack or ability that you use does something else. So maybe if you use a primary attack, that does more damage. But if you use your ultimate, then it gets that last hit knockup. Or if you don't do the E into ultimate, you don't get that last super hit on your knockup. And maybe if you don't use E into your Q, it doesn't stun, it slows instead, or something like that. Making it so she's less potent overall, unless she's using that amp on one of her abilities. I think that could be a nice way to change her.
Yeah, because we want her to still feel like an assassin.
Yeah, I agree. But that's still, unless they do something with damage or something, that still leaves the issue of 100-0. I think that's like the main issue right now. If they have to dump the damage on it, or if they have to give her another ult or something because they can't balance it, I mean, I'd be okay with either. Just looking at her and just messing with it right now, I think is the appropriate step forward. I mean, I'd be even okay with her jumping on someone and just stabbing them in the back of the head for a couple times or something, and like running with them, just like, oh no, or you whatever.
So like Arachne from Snipe. Right.
Yeah, like any they could do so much stuff with her that nothing's in stone. And that's the beauty with an alpha; they can change anything. And I hope that they're willing to just throw stuff in to see how it works, or hey, let's see how people think about this or that. That's why I was really glad to see the stun lock taken out, because I feel like if this was in beta or if this was an open game, that's something that would never have changed, because it would have been such a dramatic change that they would have lost or potentially lost a big chunk of their community. So while it's an alpha, I hope that they push ridiculous stuff just to see.
Agreed, 100%. Yep.
Yeah. It's the only unfun thing about the game that my friends didn't like. It's just that there was nothing they could do, and that's with me coaching them. Like, there's a Jarra, this guy's good with them. It doesn't matter if they're good or not, though. Max out armor first, and then if they're good, start putting points in the health too. And if they didn't have, like, and there's games where I'm, like, solo queuing and I see new players, which I'm happy they're here, getting farmed by Jarras all game. They don't know to build armor right out the gate.
Yeah.
It's just the most important thing is the game's fun. And whether it's balanced or not, that comes with time and stuff, as long as something's not anti-fun, because those are the things that will make you leave the game. Those are things that will make you not want to come back. So, and I think Jarra is the definition as anti-fun. And again, as a play, I don't really main melees in many games, but as a person that plays Jarra, the cooldown on her ultimate, her combo, is not fun for me too. It's just, you one-shot someone and then okay, now what do we do? Do I really need to go in for this fumble? I don't know. I might die if I do that.
I don't know if it's just a Jarra thing. We have to keep in mind Jarra's the first assassin in the game. So let's say they bring out another assassin and the kit's completely different. We might still have the same issue because assassins innately do a lot of damage, right? And so we don't want to just buff their or make their cooldowns like ridiculous, because then it like you're saying, it's unfun to play her as well. You one shot someone and then, okay, I'm gonna be in base for a while, guys, kind of thing, you know. So I think there needs to be a change in the approach to how assassins are done as a whole.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think instead of looking at an assassin as someone who does high burst damage and then basically useless anywhere else, you could also look at an assassin like does very frequent but very low damage but very mobile as well. So if they took down the damage on her ult per se, and buffed up her auto attacks, that would be fine as well, because she's still very mobile. She still has CC. Her ult was still CC, and she would do a decent amount of damage too. So it's not really about just a burst hero. It's more of at least to me, assassins could also mean someone who can get in, get out, and do consistent damage or do damage just in general more than other people.
That's what I was about
or
to
in
say.
unique ways too. So
Yeah.
there's definitely options.
Totally
Even with
agree.
new people that come in, like it doesn't even need to be damage. You can have like a utility assassin too, where there's a lot of different things that you could do without sticking one word to mean a specific thing. So I hope they have hope they're just messing with shit,
Yeah.
tweaking stuff.
More tests, the better.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think there's any more I can say on Jarra. I've got my rant out of the
We're
way.
good for that, yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, there's a few bug fixes in the patch notes, but nothing really worth going over, I don't think.
I mean, it's an alpha, right? Talking about bug fixes is like, it's gonna be there each and every week. It's an alpha for a reason. If there weren't bugs to be squashed, it'd be beta, right?
yeah. The only time bugs get talked about was when we don't realize they're bugs. They were something that we thought was intended, and they're like, "Oh, this was not intended."
It's a feature.
So if we know the next thing is likely just going to be the Rollins rework in terms of the actual character himself, not the kit, and you guys had to wish for a class. So you just mentioned there's one assassin in the game. I believe there's one nuker in the game. There's 2 supports, 2 tanks. What would you want to be the next true new warrior?
Nuker.
I disagree. I'd actually argue that there's 2 mages in the game. I don't think Corrin's a support.
Agreed.
I agree.
I think she's more of a mage. We
does
need
feel
another
like it.
healer.
Yeah.
100%.
Healer.
We need another healer, because Alona, we don't know if she's overpowered right now, but we do know that she's necessary, especially in the competitive scene. Not having a healer right now is just like basically giving up the game. I'm not saying that you can't win without a healer, but it makes your job way easier if you do have one. So adding another one in the game will, I think, open up the gates for actual balance on healing in general in the game. And right now we just can't do that because we only have Alona. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I just hate the idea of. I mean, it's important for the balance issues, because I hate the idea of healers becoming necessary. When the more healers you introduce, the more likely that is to be the case, where you're needing healers. But with the introduction of more healers, you can scale them down some to potentially not make them needed.
You introduce more healers, then you introduce like Mortal Strike type heroes, like heal reduction type heroes and stuff to help alleviate some of that. Like maybe there's a hard Alona counter. I don't know. Maybe Jarra and the assassins become the hard counters to the healers. I mean, who knows? It's really hard to tell until things start rolling with this game, I feel.
Yeah, they could do anything. There's so many different things that they could do with it. They could we don't really have like classes yet either. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't know how many classes. I say classes like an assassin, a tank, a warrior, a bruiser, a fighter, or a healer. You know what I'm saying? Or utility. We don't. There's no defined parameters for that yet. So something. They could put anything in the game and tweak it right now. So I hope there's another something that will be able to heal stuff, but I hope it doesn't affect the overall scope of what we like the game to be.
yeah. I think what you said, Zoya, about not wanting healers to be necessary, I think that's super important for the game. I totally agree that I want healers like more to be in the game so we can probably, I'm going to say, scale them down or make them less important by making Amulet and Lifesteal stronger or something. Make it so you don't have to pick a healer if you don't want to. Because right now I feel it too necessary, at least at a competitive level, to have an Alona. And I think changing that to be like, okay, well, we could do an Alona, or we could like totally amp our damage with a Corrin, or we could go double shooter for the buff control, or et cetera, et cetera. I want that option, or those options, to be in there. And right now, I just don't think it's viable.
It's healer or bust. I would like to see a lot more utility too. Like I'd be okay with them putting in a strict utility support. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's just obviously what Corrin's supposed to be with the silence and the damage amp, and that's like their attempt of her. But she does feel like more just a mage, right?
Yeah,
her silence is her ultimate. It's on a longer cooldown. It's hard to. There's no single skill shot silence, which could be really meaningful for if they wanted to drive her in that route to be just take damage away and make her autos be like a micro interrupt or something. I don't know. So now that they took, would you guys think that'd be the worst thing ever? They just took hitstun out of the game. If they were to try to work a similar effect in on a support that basically that's what she's all about, would that be awful?
No, that's totally different. Yeah. I think of like Johanna from HOTS, who's just all about disruption. Not just a blind, just characters that are totally about disruption. You put that in the game, just don't make it everybody.
Yeah. The biggest thing, it was just the autos. It was like just a guaranteed stun on every auto. It was too much. Like having stuns or having CC on abilities is completely fine. I don't know about the state of roots and how that would work. We have like one, maybe two right now. And so we haven't really dug too deep as far as roots go, but having abilities that have the ability to stun basically is completely fine.
Yeah,
I mean that just comes down to the classification. Alona's not called a healer; she's called a support, and there's multiple ways you can support someone. It doesn't have to be healing. There's millions of forms of utility that they can implement into this game. So I agree. Another support would be nice, because she's truly the true only support in the game right now. I agree 100% with Callow that Corrin does not feel like a support. She's got utility, but she's more of a mage.
Dude, that skull effect when you kill someone, like the skull that's like kind of withering away, that's really cool.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Dude, the art team on this game, shout out to Knock Naz, the art director, man. He does everything 100. It's so good.
Dude,
it's so good.
Does he have new portraits at the bottom? I feel like some of these are new.
Yeah, on Argus, the ultimate and the kick got changed, and the primary attack.
It fits his model. Yeah.
Rip our videos forever obsolete, Zoya.
I think it'll be fine.
I know it's like so small intentionally for that reason, but that's cool though.
All right, we're already an hour into the show, and we haven't even touched on hit stun. So
yeah, that's why I'm on Argus.
Quit playing the goddamn game, Jake.
That's why I'm on Argus, because I wanted to show the lack thereof hit stuns that exist in the game now. And you guys have had a weekend to play. I was actually in Cape Cod, so I played like legit 3 games last week. But what was your takeaway from the removal of hit stun in Breakaway?
I just love that Callow said at the beginning of the show that everyone was freaking out about the hit stun changes. And then even after playing 1 to 2 games, there were people posting like, I can't stand this. I'm not going to be playing Breakaway until it's over. And then like 10 games are like, I gave this a real chance. Okay. And it's actually not that bad. And then 20 games later, it's like, okay, this is a better game now, huh? It seems like it's overwhelming. Is the word I think Kalo used earlier, that everyone feels, almost everyone, right? I can't speak for everyone, but almost everyone seems to feel that the game is in a better state now with the removal hit stuns. And I agree with that. I echo that.
Same. Everything feels a lot more flowy now too. It's not like run out of base, go to a spot, fight, die, or get out like by chance. It's very more. There's always moving. It's always flowing. There's a bunch of stuff going on. So it just feels better overall to play.
And then
I think that fluidity
rewarded for your actual like knockbacks and stuns and those kind of abilities. Like if you hit that big sunburst around the ball to secure the ball pickup to move it, you're spending an ability, and that's going to feel that much more rewarding.
100%. Yep. I was just going to say it. I don't think it surprises me that me and Icon were kind of like being the voices of reason. When we were talking on stream about this, and everyone was just mad. I think at the devs,
pissed, and man. It's just like we had to just stop it. Stun is bad. Stop it.
Well, it made like even for like so playing a versus a Spartacus was cancer, but playing Spartacus I feel so much better now because before it was so one dimensional. It was ability, weaving an auto, ability, weaving an auto, ability, weaving an auto, and you would just stun lock someone and do the same combo every single game. And now because there's different move speeds, because you don't have that ability to stun lock, every single matchup and every single fight you go into it as Spartacus, you're not just you have
His
to
name
play
is
it.
Argus, Zoya.
Argus, sorry. Okay, I've been in the game
Angus.
since last December. Okay,
Angus
I don't-
feels bad, man.
Argus, man. But yeah, it feels less dynamic. You know, you're not forced to do the single combo over and over. You have to play it based off which hero you're against and the current situations and stuff. So,
I do want to say one thing though. Like, let's say another change comes around. I don't know. This is totally drastic. Let's say they take away all abilities, right? Just something stupid, right?
I'm behind it.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
We still shouldn't be mad at the devs until we try it. Like, let them do that right now. Let them be comfortable with knowing, like, okay, our community's gonna be okay with us testing this for a weekend because it's
Rollback.
alpha. Let them be alpha devs.
biggest-
you know?
The biggest thing I think a lot of people get upset about is the lack of transparency of what's going on. Like even these patch notes today, there was things that were changed that weren't in the patch notes. So I feel like if they gave us like for next week, for example, if they brought out on Monday, hey, we're gonna be trying some crazy ass shit, y'all. You know, like everyone's backwards. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has different abilities and shit. Like. And I feel like as long as they're transparent with it and they prepped us beforehand instead of just dropping a big bomb, it would be a lot easier for everyone to take in and discuss beforehand. Because I think like Argus's health is different this week. Like he has 500 health instead of 450.
Shout out to Trader.
Yeah, shout out to Trader. He's the data miner, man.
Damn.
And they didn't say anything about that. And there's a couple of other changes as well. So I feel like they just whoever's doing the patch notes should
They got to clean it up a little bit.
The other thing
step
is
the game up, y'all.
when
Step
the
it up.
patch notes and stuff like this, I guarantee you the devs have so many iterations of the game on one day to the next that it's really easy to get a number that they've been toying with internally after this alpha build's been finalized mixed up. So maybe this alpha build, he didn't have 500 HP, but that's something they were toying with after they took away his hit stun. So they're like, okay, maybe that's how we mitigate it to give him a little bit more survivability. And, you know, it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
It used to happen with heroes all the time. And that hero's
still does.
dev team is like, as far as I know, they've been around a lot longer, right? They still mess up stuff 3 years later. So
I completely understand, and I still give them props for keep on keeping on. But I feel like if they were going to go around the route that we want them to, which is to play around with stuff, just play around with stuff. I know they're doing the in-house dev stuff, and they're playing constantly, and they have a bunch of builds and stuff. But I feel like if they didn't push out the stun lock, they didn't take that out, and they didn't give that a chance or whatever else, that it would still be in the game, and that majority would still be there. So I don't know. I feel like just be like, hey guys, we're gonna try some stuff out. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if they throw out some patch notes with some of the major changes and leave some stuff out too, I mean that's fine too. Just let us know. Just please let us know, and please just do it. That would be nice.
Yeah.
A major throwback to early Heroes of the Storm for anyone that was around for that. They introduced something called artifacts, and it was.
Oh god.
I honestly, if I could go back, I would not be reacting the way you guys are right now. It was reacted and received so poorly by everyone in the community, including us, that they removed it within a week and never visited something like that ever again.
Like in retrospect, that could have been the best thing for the game.
It could have been a great if they ironed out an item type system. Think of where HOTS could be today, and because of our rude and horrifying reaction, not just of us in Town Hall, but the entire community. Was like, screw artifacts, dude, and they removed it within a week. Imagine if they would reverted hit stun.
Just to like bring more light to that idea, and I think the correct way to do that, if you are ever to try that with a new game for anyone, just make sure you're not turning that power level thing into a gold sink, because one of the big things with that is you had to spend in-game currency to power up your character, whereas a seasoned player would literally be stronger. And that, like, if they were to introduce something like that into, let's say, Breakaway, we already talked about this a bit earlier, like the idea of just being able to put like 5 mastery points in wherever you want. Just don't bar that from a new player.
Oh, no.
The idea, I hate that in League of Legends. I hate the fact that my League of Legends account isn't max level, therefore I'm weaker. Like, that drives me absolutely nuts.
Agreed.
I think it's terrible.
If they did that, I think everyone would just leave. So
Yeah.
Yeah, just be open to new ideas, because it's a mistake I feel like a lot of people made early on. I mean, we were reaming the artifact system, and who knows if it was awful. Yes, the first iteration of it was awful, but who knows what it could have become. But if you react so harshly, no one benefits from that.
yeah.
Voice your concerns in a reasonable, non-ridiculous way.
And there's so many other things that you can gold dump into too. Me and Kayla were talking about this yesterday. There's so many cool things that they can iterate for gold dumps that would make sense instead of blocking actual content or blocking stuff like mastery points or anything like that behind bars. All cosmetic stuff. They talked about doing a wager system with Stream Plus as well, where you'd be able to watch matches live and wager your actual in-game currency against the matches. That would be awesome. Even setting some kind of ridiculously high point, like 500,000 gold, you're able to unlock a completely golden skin from somebody or something. So you always have that gold.
The options are there.
Yeah,
I love the idea of getting little children addicted to gambling at such an early age. Man,
it's awesome. It's perfect. You can open up a website, call it something crazy, breakawaylotto.com. Hey guys, check out this new website.
It's all going to be built into your Twitch account, so obviously that will be controlled by Twitch, and I would imagine the points will be locked into Twitch's ecosystem. But
it was just a troll over the CS.
I know. But I'm just, for those that don't know that, making sure they understand that it's going to be pretty neat. They also even mentioned in the Stream Plus stuff that there was the potential of skins that you could purchase via those loyalty points from watching broadcasts and stuff.
Right.
Which is insane. Like, that's amazing that, you're going to be rewarded in multiple ways inside the game, and then outside of the game, just interacting, watching a tournament, voting on your favorite team or whatever, just by watching, like spending $0 and doing so.
It's awesome. It's awesome. They're doing so many cool things with the game and pushing esports. I think that if this really does kick off, they would push esports to definitely another level where other companies would have to look at this and be like, okay, what are they doing? Because we need to start copying it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it pushes through and it works out. So
that's
all we can do is support.
My big thing this weekend is I'm actually going to get in there and try MetaStream for the first time, because I have yet to tinker with it. And as a broadcaster, I'm freaking excited for it.
It's awesome. We were messing with it, or Chronic, one of my teammates, was messing with it last week when he was streaming, and he was able to have all the information and stuff on his stream. And it's really cool. So nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, the last thing we have is state of the game, and we kind of hinted on a lot of these already, but when it comes down to everything, like taking away the hit stun, some of the balance changes they're doing, and comparing the game now to compare to where maybe when you guys started playing it, because I've only been playing for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it's been. How do you think the game sits in terms of, like, is it done, or what would you like to see change if you haven't mentioned
Definitely not done.
Show?
Definitely not done. I was having a conversation with somebody about this. The only thing I want from the devs right now is to test things, just to have the freedom to test things, but start pushing out a lot more stuff right now. Just do it right now. Next week, put out Rollins. The week after, put out another character. Maybe the week after that, put out another character. Just keep putting out a lot of new stuff right now. We need the game to start filling out, because I think the core is there. Yeah. There's, maybe add in masteries, maybe rework Relic runes, but the core of the game is solid right now. Obviously, we've got a server team, but they're not working on the gameplay balancing. I think now is the time to just start ramping things up and putting it into maybe even beta soon, if that happens. So
they don't even need to be complete like heroes either. Just get a simple model together with a skill set and just be like, all right, does this character work in this game? Give us your feedback. Even if they have to do another client that pushes updates that's up 24/7 or up during Monday through Wednesday or something that has ridiculous builds on it with uncompleted stuff, just for people to test, to give feedback on potential new things coming on before it gets patched out to live. That would be completely fine too. I mean, I've even told people in the past that I would sign the longest NDA of my life to be able to give these guys any kind of help or insight that they could get from us. And I know a lot of the competitive teams and players and stuff said the same thing. Like, we'd be willing to sign our lives away to help this game and help these devs. So
yeah, I think for me, I want them to push. I won't say I disagree with you guys. If the content comes out, it comes. That's where I sit. but I haven't been like I've been playing since as long as you guys. Well, I guess not since you guys were. Well, at least Kylo, you were at TwitchCon. I don't know about you, Icon, but I've been playing since the December test. But I haven't been going as diehard until recently. So I'm still okay with the current amount of content. I think the most important thing for me is getting the numbers in the game in a sense that makes sense. The idea that I have to like go into a Discord and have some baller like trader break everything down for me, who's like collecting all this info himself. For me, I will never like be smart enough to do what trader's doing and have that kind of patience.
Nope.
But
That's why it's his job.
I also am try hard enough though that I want that information. So I think there's just a lot of confusion with like a lot of how the items work, how like attack damage, how does it actually scale you, you know? If you're a new player and you bought this attack item, does this mean every single auto attack I do has plus 10 damage? Does every single build I do have plus 10 damage? How does the scaling work and stuff? You know, there's so much confusion when it comes to numbers in this game that I really want that like streamlined and making sense. I think that's my biggest complaint about the game right now.
Yeah.
I think the issue with me and Kalo so far, especially with Kalo saying they need more content, is that it's more or less basically the same game that we've played last year. Basically,
yes.
It's 20% difference. They changed some navigation stuff, how you move your character. Cool, but that's a big thing, yes, but it's not something that would get you any closer to a release or anything like that. Like the same thing, there's been like almost zero new content. It's been the same thing over and over and over again. So it's at the point where people are starting to get bored of the game, and they're like, oh well, like we're on a team. Like, oh man, we gotta grind Breakaway this weekend, but it's the same stuff. There's nothing new. It's just stuff. It's like, man, we just want to see new maps, we want to see new heroes. Even like I said, even if they have to do a different test, if they have to do whatever, like. We just need more, basically.
I think part of that quote unquote boredom is the lack of an actual MMR system, because the game is in early development. And once you have a ladder where the goal to grind, right now you're just queuing up, hitting people and playing the same old game. That whole narrative of playing the same old game changes drastically the moment you put in a grandmaster and a master in a ranking that you're maintaining. And that's when that boredom, suddenly you don't have that mentality, because you have a climb or a descent that's happening, naturally in the game. So in alphas, I think that's only natural for people to get burned out, which is why competitive games oftentimes, take a little time before they get rolling. With the hardcore play. And the player base is admittedly very small still too. So you're hitting the same people very frequently. Like, if you're playing a one night, you might see the same guy 5 games in a row. It's entirely possible. So those are all things I think that will just get fixed in time. I don't actually think that the boredom is expected, really. Like that, if you're grinding the game, trying to make it your job, the boredom's going to happen without a ladder.
I agree.
Well, I mean, we're at the point now where the boredom made sense the last 6 months. Like the scaling of the changing of the game, its pacing made sense the last 6 months. We're at a point now, though, where the game's becoming stable. Mm-hmm. People are debating that in Discord right now, but the game has become more stable overall. The servers have been getting better. The game's feeling better to play. They're fixing, lag issues here and there. So we're at the point where now that those things are being optimized and are in a better place, yes, we can start pushing out more. They should start pushing out more content.
I'm wary
they don't even
of
feel
there
worried
being
about the back end.
Too many maps. I don't want a ton of maps in this game. I think having like a solid 5 or something is fine, but I'm wary about them like putting in like 14 different maps. I don't think that's good.
I think it depends on the frequency at which they introduce new heroes. If they're going to go with a MOBA approach, which we don't know anything yet, but if they go with a MOBA approach with a new hero a month, basically, I think having a new map, every 3 months, every 2 months would be fine.
Yeah.
But I don't want this to turn into a Rocket League situation where the old game was crazy maps. The best teams are good on a lot of different styles of maps, and then now Rocket League is one same map with just different assets on it, and everyone else hates any kind of different map. And it's like, man, sometimes it gets so boring watching Rocket League games because it's just the same map, like a little bit of texture differences here and there. It's reskinned, yeah. Like I want to see the best teams play on crazy maps, or a goal in the ceiling, or a goal, whatever, just different stuff. Because the best teams you're going to be able to be consistent over multiple different maps, multiple different styles. Like if we have a very baseline, only a couple maps, only a couple heroes, the competitive scene is going to get really, really, really stale, and it's basically going to be a toss-up of who the best team is, or who the best X teams are.
I think to echo like what you're saying, there's a lot of beauty in the potential map design with the 3 different ways to win, right? Some teams are going to be better at just playing the macro game and controlling the buffs and playing for that round 5 or whatever, and holding on to a map that promotes maybe a stronger defensive play. Whereas other teams are just going to go straight in, try to utilize the various levels of the map to get some crazy passing in and play aggressively. I don't know, but I think that the fact that there's 3 win conditions makes the map design very interesting, which is why I like the idea of maybe 5 to 7, because a best of 5 series or a best of 7 series, rotating maps out, whatever, could make that really interesting and help build up the narrative of the esports teams, especially. But like. Again, having like 14 different maps would be
rough.
I'd be even crazy.
I'm okay with that many maps as long as they get rotated out like gold ones get rotated out. I want them to take a StarCraft-esque approach as opposed to a Heroes Storm. Sometimes on maps on StarCraft, yes, your strategy would change map to map.
Yeah.
But overall, you would play the game the exact same way no matter what map you're on, right? Like, but they were thematically differently. They would change up some strategies here and there. Whereas in Heroes of the Storm, every map is so freaking different that the objective's completely different. It's a completely different game no matter what map you're on, right? As long as it's more of like a StarCraft map where you can. It's still Breakaway, just a different map.
I'm
okay with
more
and more maps.
Yeah. CS:GO does the the competitive rotation.
Yeah.
I think Dust 2 just got taken out or something like that, which is crazy to me.
They're redoing it.
Okay. I don't follow it anymore, but something like that. Like we can have like a great amount of maps, but just we'll have like 8 to 10 in a competitive pool of maps at any one time, and I think that would work perfectly.
I think if you give the competitive scene at least 2 or 3 choices for each win condition style map. What I'm saying? Like each style of map. If they could colonize the style of map, say like Dorado is your very basic ground zero map, and then build from there, being able to put another similar Atlantis map in there where it would play the same, but it would be different. Maybe no elevators, maybe, something else. And then they were able to put in like 2 or 3 of each of these for each win condition. I think they'd be fine. So like 9 or 10 maps, and they just rotate them out.
On the map design right now, in terms of like the various elements of the map, you have platforms, you have the elevators, you have slopes. Would you ever want springboards or anything ridiculous like that? Boost pads, like
it'd have to see how they're implemented.
We need tests. Yeah.
Tests.
Because I mean, an elevator is essentially a slow boost pad. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if it just depends on the map. Like they could do a multi-tiered map where on the ground floor it was something, and then you had different. I'm saying? They could do so much different things. Yeah, they can do so many different things, and I think that's the beauty of this game is that it's very, very simple, but the best teams are going to be good at multiple things, at multiple maps and multiple play styles and stuff, and they're going to have their own unique thing that a lot of other teams won't be easily to replicate. So I think that is the true nature of Breakaway, at least to me.
As long as, let's say you have 3 teams, one of them's focused on territory wins, one of them's focused on scoring, one of them's focused on kills. As long as like after like a certain amount of games, like the play style difference win rate, like it's a map that's catered to ball running, and the ball running team has like no more than like a 53 to 55% win rate versus these other teams of equal skills, then I'm okay with that. I just don't want the maps to determine how you have to play the game, but give those slight advantages. As long as the map.
The same thing with the masteries. That we were talking about earlier. Same thing with the masteries. Give the tools to the people, but make it slight. I think that's a very, very good thing to fall back on moving forward for them.
Because that'll be, I'm imagining right now an esports situation where, let's say, Shrine of Oros, El Dorado, is it becomes a runners based map, right? and you've got a territory team that it doesn't have the advantage here, but like they're at a disadvantage. The casters are like, oh yeah, I don't know if this is gonna go good for this team, and they pull it out. Like that's gonna be a crazy moment for wow, the running team got shut down on Aros by the territory team. Like that's insane, and that potential is it's so easy to make across how many different possibilities. So
it also makes it. Sorry.
Go ahead. No,
it also makes it easier for different style of people to come in. Like maybe a Rocket League guy does come in and really likes the game, but he doesn't want to play Kyra as a fumbler. He doesn't want to play her as, whatever. It gives him a little bit more options. It's like, oh, well, my Kyra that I like to play, I can really focus on just defending. I can be a territory Kyra, basically. And that could be the thing that I'm known for, is having a really good defense Kyra instead of having, well, if you're playing Breakaway, you have an Alona, you have a Kyra, you have a Jarra, and then you have a Thorgrim, like every single game, and there's not a lot of fluctuation here or there. Like I would like to see different styles of people come in with their own flair on these characters and these maps and stuff. I think that is again another cool thing going into Breakaway, that you could be like, well, what if I did play Argus as an off tank or a tank? Okay, cool, do it. I mean, that's fine. Yep. Like his kit might not be optimized for that, but if you build correctly and you play correctly, yeah, it's completely viable. That's fine.
I think the best game I would want to compare it to is what I would want is similar to certain maps in Melee. You can go to a map where Fox has a weakness on because he can't up smash you as easier because of high ceiling. But you don't go into that map saying the Fox player is losing 100% because of this, right? You can see, Mango clutch it out on this map because he's, freaking Mango, right? So as long as it's not like crippling to a play style or certain characters, comps and stuff, then it's good map design.
Yep.
Cool.
Advantages are good. It builds storylines. Just don't make me lose 100%.
Well, it honestly seems like they're ramping up that content production flow with getting Merrick last week. Now we got Sai this week. Maybe we'll get the Rollins rework next week. We'll just keep our eyes on, because it seems like it's full steam ahead. One thing we didn't even mention in the patch notes, as I am the king of skimming over things, is you don't actually need an alpha key this weekend. I saw somebody pop in the chat earlier asking, it won't let me redeem my key. It won't let me redeem my key. But at the top of the patch notes, it says, we've invited a few more people to Breakaway Alpha than previous tests, but we're also looking to improve our queue times and raise the match quality. Then it says, we've asked Twitch broadcasters to bring their community to the game, and we've removed the need for an alpha code to play. Now, cool. This to me seems like just this weekend only, right? We've invited more people, and then we've removed the need for alpha codes for this weekend, but this could be a outstanding thing that persists. To be determined. It doesn't actually verify that in the text on the website. So still, that's a big deal. Clearly, they're feeling confident that, it's time to test the servers if they're opening the floodgates like that.
To me, I'm gonna play Negative Nancy here real quick.
Oh.
But to me, we've been trying to scrim and stuff for the last couple weeks, and a lot of the time there's an average of 3 total games going on, or 4 total games going on in the whole game. So to me, this is like, well, shit, guys, there's 20 players in our game. What do we do? I don't know. Invite streamers out, make it so you don't have to have codes. Just start pushing a little bit. Try to get a couple hundred at least. This is I think this is what has happened, because there's been so many times where I would be in queue for an hour and a half because there's literally no one playing. Yeah. So I think this is them just being like, all right, boys, we need some players.
What is the Negative Nancy part of this? You haven't said anything bad yet.
Oh, they were going for a more positive way, and I was like,
oh, you were saying it from their perspective. I thought you were complaining about something.
No, sorry. I bitch a lot, but this was a different circumstance.
I understand now. I follow now. Okay.
Yeah.
They need more players for sure, because a lot of the times last weekend when playing with, we go 4 or 5 hours playing nonstop, we would hit the same stacks of people 3, 5, 7 games in a row, and then whenever we'd get long queue time, it's like, oh, they stopped playing.
Yep.
Now what do we do?
Yep. I think that's just it. Like, there's just not enough players, so they're like, well, let's drop codes and push for at least this weekend, maybe forever. I don't know. They've been trying to push for the past month since I think this is the 4th week, right? That it's been up. Alpha's been up.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been a dramatic increase in players, so they're probably freaking out internally a little bit, just being like, well, why isn't anyone playing the game?
It's not like it's hard to get into the game right now. Like, if you were a streamer, you can message one of the devs right now, ask for codes to give away on your stream, and they'll give you 20 codes. Like, they'll give it to anybody. Right?
I know, but it's the nature of the beast, though, because like I myself, weekends is the absolute worst time for me to play. That's just me, though, because on weekends I'm usually out doing things, or I have a cast that I have to do for a different game or whatever. And having a limited time frame, I mean, the player base is going to suffer from that 100% because people don't want to have to be forced to log in at a specific time. A lot of people don't even read the fine text. They get the code, they redeem it on a Wednesday, they try to log in and the servers aren't up, and then they don't try again.
Yeah, so, they forget about it.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast with an alpha that has limited time frames. Like Dauntless is another alpha that's currently up. Dude, I logged in like the first alpha weekend and I told myself, I'm like, all right, I'm donezo until like servers are just up normally. And that's just how I guarantee you the majority of players in games are.
Donezo.
Yeah, like it's just...
I'm donezo, guys.
But
Jarra OP.
We do have to wrap things up here. We actually got an hour and a half show. So, Icon and Kayla, thank you so much for joining us this week. Let's get some shout outs, and where can people find you, Icon?
You can find me on Twitter at icon_. Everything is linked to my website, so you can just go there if you want to know anything about me, icongg.com. You can find everything there. You can find my team at Enix Breakaway on Twitter. It's me, myself, Chronic, Trader, and Empiric. We are Enix, and yeah.
Awesome. Kalo?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Kalology, although I'm trying to change that in the near future, hopefully. Also on Twitter at Kalological. And I might have some announcements for team stuff in a week or two. I'll let you guys know about that. I don't know. Nothing confirmed. Nothing set in stone yet. But we'll see. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Zoya, my boya.
Only shout I want to do is give it to my boy APM God. I'm so excited. He's found a game he's passionate about again. He's going hard at this game. I managed him for several months, and he's always been a really good friend of mine. So APM God, Matre, congrats on joining up with the Turmoil.
Yeah,
Turmoil. So
good guys over there.
It's a sick team. It's going to be a sick team.
Yeah, I have faith that he will crush you nerds because APM's a god. But
Noted.
Just trolling a little bit.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for him,
Same.
and I'm excited for more teams to be popping up.
Exactly.
And custom games, because Jake and I want to cast this game a million times a week already, please. Thank you.
Same, please. There's also going to be some cool stuff coming up in a couple weeks. Can't say anything about it, but
cool
stuff,
yeah, things. Stuff. Dang.
It's going to be lit, boys.
There's stuff happening.
So if you like the game, make sure to keep following it. Join the Discord, discord.gg/breakaway. Go follow them on Twitter at playbreakaway. Ask us stuff. Ask us if you want to know about the game, you want to know about certain things, just talk in the Discord. Yeah. We're all here to help. We're all here. This is basically our lives at this point. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here to help.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, my shout outs, just follow Arcane8 here on Twitch. Follow us on YouTube because we've got a couple, we've got TownHall Breakaway, the show. This is our 3rd episode. And we've got our other series with the spotlights, and then we've got Breakaway 101 in the works. So we're getting everything prepared for some other great videos that'll be releasing soon. Zoe and I, at least myself, I'm not going full throttle until August because I am so swamped for the rest of this month. But August is when things are really going to ramp up on my end.
I'm going full throttle now, boy.
I mean, my schedule is insane. I've got so many pre-commitments or prior commitments, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Keep your eyes on this game because it's in its infancy now, but things are about to heat up, I feel. Thanks for watching episode number 3, and once again, shout out to Kalo and for Icon joining us, and Zoya.
Now you're having us.
Being my online secret lover, I guess.
Not a secret, but yes.
It's not a secret. It's public. GG's.
The tattoo secret, though.